Hey, what's going on, everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with the fourth episode of the Alabastard podcast. I'm here with Hunter. How's it going, Hunter?
Goes great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm also here with Ziggy. How's it going?
Good man. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing a lot better now because we're on the fourth episode of the Alabastard podcast. So, fourth episode is named To Infinity and Universes Beyond, which is horrible. I know. I always do some really cheesy title for this, and that's because, as promised in the last episode, I was like, hey, maybe the next one we should talk about Universes Beyond, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So, in addition to talking about Universes Beyond today, there's a few other things that we're going to go over. So it seems like we always do one of these when a new set is coming out. And, as tradition, we're going to each talk about a card from Final Fantasy. And then obviously we're going to talk about Universes Beyond. And this is just Universes Beyond as a whole. Like, what we like about it, what we don't like, the thoughts about it now being in standard, just literally everything. We're going to just dissect everything. And then we're also going to do the channel member Q&A as we did last time, which I thought was really, really fun. And we have some really spicy questions once again for us. So very excited for that. So, all right, let's go and hop into the Final Fantasy picks. So I don't want to talk too much about the actual set as a whole, because we'll kind of talk about that in the Universes Beyond section. But I think we can all agree that, like, this set is pretty underpowered in terms of playability for standard, pioneer, I guess modern. We throw that in there. You can definitely tell that this set was for Commander, but there's a few cards that we're all at least decently excited about that we want to talk about. So I want to say that Hunter is first here. It is Ryan. I lied. So Ryan, you're going to start us off. The card that you picked obviously is Vivi. I'm Ornitier. I don't even know how to pronounce that. But anyways, the floor is yours, Ryan. Go ahead and talk about this card.
So, has anyone actually here played Final Fantasy?
Negative, Ghost
No.
Rider.
I have played zero.
Okay, we're going with Ornitier then. Vivi
Ornitier.
Ornitier. This card is unbelievable. Like, I can't believe they printed this card, and the price tag right now shows it. It's like somewhere in the $85 to $100 range. So it's a 3-mana 0/3. It has 0 add X mana, where X is its power. Only do this your turn and once each turn. And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. I can't even imagine a reasonable blue-red deck in any format where this card is bad. And there are probably some decks where this card just wins you the game on the spot if you untap. Let's just take Arclight Phoenix in Pioneer as an example. I mean, you play this on turn 3, it just demands a removal spell. If you let your opponent untap with a Vivi in play, you may as well just concede, because they're going to go consider, preordain, opt, make 3 mana off my Vivi, play some stupid spell. You've taken 3 or 4 from Vivi, attack with this thing. It's like a 3/6 or a 4/7 already. And, never mind the fact that you're just going to keep drawing into more and more gas to abuse with this. And the turn after that, I mean, it just scales ridiculously. This card's cracked. Don't even think about, like, that's just Pioneer. Like, never mind Modern, where there's probably a reasonable Storm deck to just build around it. Never mind Legacy, where, like, I don't even know what you're going to do with this in Legacy, but there's probably some cool stuff to do with it. Never mind Commander. Vintage, like, playing this on turn 2 off a Mox with a Force Up sounds amazing. I just can't imagine this card ever being bad.
What's funny is I can imagine this totally playing, seeing playing Vintage. Like, now that you mention it, like with the Moxen, or like even just like in Modern specifically with like Bauble, because it's non-creature. It's not instant or sorcery. It's anything.
Yeah, it's everything. Yeah. I'm just going to play this in Modern. I'm going to hold up a Mutagenic Growth. Like, go nuts.
Oh, that's gross.
And it's also, you can only do it on your turn, which, like, thankfully, because imagine if you could do this on any turn.
Yeah, I make 4 mana and I cast Rewind or whatever.
Yeah. So as a as a connoisseur of all things that Ryan also enjoys about Magic and blue-red cards, I pretty much well agree with him. Like, in some instances, you could make the argument that it's like a win more card, but it's a win more card that actually does something for your deck. And it's a type of card that you can slot into almost any blue red shell and it's going to work, and it's not going to hinder your actual game plan, and it could make your actual game plan like even better. Because like Ryan says, like if you slam this on turn 2 or turn 3 in like almost any format, if you untap with it, you are undoubtedly going to win in a blue red spell slinger deck. And it's also like, in a sense, a good creature that you can slot into those decks that can also act as like removal fodder, because like this demands a removal spell, but if you're building a deck with this as like for Izzet Prowess and Standard, for example, Izzet Prowess has a lot of flexibility slots, I like to call them, and you could easily fit this in there. It's not going to take away from your main game plan, but like it's going to help your main game plan win more because they're going to be wasting resources on dealing with this thing.
Yeah, it just can't be ignored. Like even in the like quote unquote the fail case where you untap with a Vivi and you play like a cantrip and a creature, like it's still gonna threaten to take over the game later. Like you're not gonna not draw spells for the rest of the game. It's going to get big. It's going to ramp you. It's going to threaten to just nickel and dime your opponent to death. And eventually it's gonna be like a 5/8 or like a 7/10, and you just have to kill it. Like you just have to. And it's a wizard.
Yeah, like I sit and think of, the one card that comes to mind specifically that I feel like could be very much abused with this card is Treasure Cruise. Like in Pioneer specifically. Like decks like Arclight Phoenix or the Izzet Prowess shells that are starting to pop up, they're playing for Treasure Cruise because they're playing a bunch of 1-mana cantrippy burn spell type cards that just go to the bin for 1 mana anyways, that kind of like balances out the Treasure Cruise thing. So on turn 4, you could, land, spell. Now I have, 5 cards in the graveyard, but this thing can add that extra like 3 to 4 mana that you need to fire off your Treasure Cruise, and you just reload, and it's just like, okay, cool. I pinged you 3 times, attack with a 4 power creature with this thing, and then if you untap with it even after that, like the game is over.
Also, like, why can this be your commander? Like, this isn't the Commander podcast, but oh my god.
Because this entire set is Commander, but that's a part of the discussion later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right.
I mean, this thing's nuts as a commander, too, just for the record.
So,
yeah.
There's a few things that I want to go over with this card. So, yeah, it's nuts, like everything like you guys said. A few things that come to mind. So, the first thing for me, like, thinking about it was, like, if you wanted to play this in Wizards, like, let's say you just want to play, like, Blue-Red Wizard Spells Matters. Imagine this with, like, Balmor Battle Mage Captain, because Balmor anthems your creatures and gives them trample until end of turn. So just imagine you go like Balmor Vivi. Well, let's say you go like Soulscar Balmor Vivi, untap, and then you're just like spell, activate this, make 6 mana, or whatever, or Treasure Cruise. Oh, and it gets like more, like I don't even know. Like it's over. The game's done.
Stop.
Over.
I can only get so erect, my dude.
Like, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, Balmor's also legal in Standard from Foundations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
dude, we're doing it.
So we could do this.
Where's my Wizard's Lightning?
Like, we could totally do this in Standard. So yeah, Vivi's nuts. Like, I don't know. It just seems good. I think Izzet Phoenix is, again, the only, like, established deck that could take advantage of a card like this. But I still feel like they want it. I mean, imagine, like, they go turn 3, Vivi is really great. But imagine if they go, like, turn 4. Okay, so I go Vivi, and then I'll opt, trigger my Ledger Shredder, put a counter on this, deal you damage. Okay, well, now we have an extra mana. Like, we'll opt again or something, Like, just getting, like, extra value just right off the bat seems pretty good. And I don't know. It just seems nuts. It's also, it's based on its power. So, like, maybe there's some really weird situations where like, not that you'd really want to pump it for the most part, but like if you're playing it in like a wizard aggro deck, like, oh, I'm gonna monstrous rage this question mark.
Yeah, why not, dude? Like, I mean, you said that Phoenix is the only established deck. I would say the Is It Prowess deck in Standard also is just going to eat this card up.
Wait, okay, now hear me out. Here, you know what else this card's really good with in Pioneer? Proft's Idyllic Memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just dump the counters on this thing, and it's second main.
Well, it's also activate during your turn. You can just do it during combat. You can activate this like instant. After blockers before damage. I'm just gonna throw a bunch of spells at you.
Yeah.
So another card that just came to mind. This card, Vivi here, and Agatha's Soul Cauldron.
Oh my god. Stop. Oh my god, that's
just like
so
accidentally give 3 of my dudes on the field Vivi's ability, make like 20 fucking mana. Like, that seems stupid.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
stupid.
I don't know what they were thinking when they printed this card. I'm assuming they were thinking this card's only legal in Modern, Legacy, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's absurd.
So, allegedly, some of the cards they rebalanced for Standard and Pioneer late in the development. I can't imagine this card changed at all.
Nope. Nobody looked at it.
Speaking of prices that Ryan had brought up earlier, I'm staring at the card currently on Goldfish right now. And Goldfish, I know their price average is a little different than like TCG or Star City Games, but their average right now is $90 for pre-order.
Yep. Yep.
I have to imagine this card, once the set actually comes out, I have to imagine this is probably going to be like a $50 card. Like, just
I can't imagine it holds that. Yeah.
Like,
it's going to be pricey.
Like, it's tricky because this set's going to be opened a lot, but it's also like it'll be opened a lot, but a lot of people like us are not going to open these packs because they are higher price than regular packs, which we'll kind of talk about that later. I don't know, but if people open this like crazy, obviously the thing is too is the Commander players that open this, they're going to keep it. They're not going to sell it. They're going to build a deck with this card.
This card, like every blue-red Commander deck probably wants a copy of this card. I can't imagine one that wouldn't.
Yeah, like,
or they just want to make it their commander.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're playing a blue-red Spellslinger deck, there probably isn't a better option than this. I have to imagine.
Like, there for a while on Arena when they started doing Historic Brawl, or like, their version of Commander or whatever it is. I built a blue-red Spellslinger deck with Balmor as the commander, and it's been a lot of fun to play. It's my play style. It's something that like helps me take a break from playing like 60 card constructed and grinding the ladder and stuff like that. And I stare at this card and there's no reason why that card shouldn't be the commander of that deck over literally any other blue-red legendary creature that's available on Arena.
Yeah, I don't know. This card, it's nuts. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, I knew this card was really good before we started the podcast, but like after we're talking about it now, like, wow. Like, this card's crazy.
The only downside to this card is like you play it on turn 3 and it's an 0-3, and like it doesn't like immediately affect the board, but I mean if you have one turn, good luck to your opponent, man. I mean, this card just takes over the game.
Here's the thing is, normally with Baneslayers are supposed to be like 5 mana, not 3 mana. If you don't kill this on turn 3, you lose the game. It's over.
You all you need is cards. Like, this thing never gives you card advantage per se. I mean, it gives you a giant dude eventually, but it doesn't give you new cards. But if you're in a blue-red deck, like, the whole point is just to keep the cards flowing anyway, and this card fits right in.
Or like in Standard, an absolute all-star card that has been popping up in so many different formats. Stock Up. You untap with this thing on turn 4. You go spell, activate Vivi, stock up. Like, dude, game over. Game over.
Oh, God.
Like, concede the match. Take your deck and go home. Drop from the tournament. Like, go have a cry in the shower. Like, you're done.
And I'm thinking about this too with Vivi. I'm like, okay, in Pioneer, what sideboard cards am I going to need to be able to beat this thing? Because Fry is not going to work on this thing. It's going to get too big. Like, you'd very rarely be able to fry this.
Yeah. that's the thing is like step one is, well, it just dies to any removal spell. And it's like, okay, but they're gonna have tricks. And if they're not just gonna slam it on turn 3 with no backup, like
Well,
unless they're convinced you're not gonna kill it.
and they can keep their mana open because they because they can activate this, so they can have extra mana for counter magic.
So we can wait until turn 4 to play Vivi, and then we hold up Spell Pierce. We Spell Pierce the removal spell. It adds a mana on Vivi. We get to cantrip on the end step, put another counter on Vivi, and then on turn 5 we untap, play our 5th land for turn, and she's already ready to make 2 mana before you cast any other spells for the turn, and is already a 2/5 at that point.
Also, hear me out.
It just scales up.
Hear me out with this too. And like, let's say if you're playing like blue-red wizards, so imagine like, let's say there's a weird grindy game, opponent like doesn't have removal for this, but we kind of like run out of gas a little bit. Imagine just like, okay, I'm gonna add 5 mana. I'm gonna activate a Hall of the Storm Giants.
Oh my god!
Like,
like mana, like
we're getting in there. Like, imagine just activating like man lands and just getting in there. Like,
I mean, that's fine. That's a fail case, right? Like,
yeah, I guess I'll pay one actual mana to activate
scenario.
my Hall.
Yeah, it's like you drew a land for your turn. Like, you don't have anything to do. Like, as long as there's a couple counters on it, you're still making mana.
Or so I was playing Is It Prowess in the last 24 hours on the arena ladder, and I was playing against like just mono black like removal, play Shieldred, Archfiend to the Dross, Unholy Annex, blah 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 blah. And the game came down to us just like trading resources, trading creatures, and I had 2 Storm Chasers talents on the field, and I maxed one of them up to the Shark Typhoon part of the card. And like, that's a feasible strategy with Vivi too, right?
Oh
like
God,
you have a Storm Chaser's talent. This thing has like it has like 4 counters on it. You're just like, okay, pay an extra 2 mana. Storm Chaser's talent's now at the final thing. Spell, make 4 dudes. Like,
and then I'm gonna convoke it and stoke the flames.
oh my god, dude! I'm only playing blue-red for the next like year and a half easily.
Also, like,
I'm gonna build so much nonsense with this card.
Also, what was the Jeskai mechanic from Cons? Harmonize? You want to tap a creature with big power to reduce the cost of a spell?
Oh Christ!
Oh, because it doesn't tap to add the mana. Oh my god!
It does not.
Oh my god, dude, this card is disgusting.
It's also a mana ability. Like, it doesn't use the stack to add the mana.
Oh,
just saying.
Stop.
Like, there's nothing. The more you look at this card, it just gets better and better.
All right, best card in
like
the set then.
Meme.
Jeez.
Yeah,
we're
it's
gonna
like
do
the
the whole
opposite of the
Disney
meme,
Ornithir podcast next time.
Yeah,
please.
Seriously,
sign me up. I'll bring notes. I'll write down a page.
Oh man. Wow. Okay. All right.
So
we got to move
final
on.
Evaluation. 10 out of 10.
We spent so much time on it, but this card's so good. Okay. So so Hunter, your card is next, and that is Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier / Sephiroth One-Winged Angel. So the floor is yours. Talk about this card.
All right, so Sephiroth is a 2 colorless and 1 black 3/3 legendary creature. It says when he enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. And then it also states whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. This is the 4th time this ability is resolved to transform Sephiroth. He then transforms into the One-Winged Angel. He is a 5/5 legendary creature still with flying. He has an ability called Supernova. As this creature transforms, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. And then whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. Aristocrats, in my opinion, for standard Pioneer, it's kind of been around, but there's a lot of graveyard hate floating around in Pioneer. But that's where this card, in my opinion, comes in handy. But in standard specifically, like, there have been bits and pieces printed over the last few standard sets of like an aristocrat style deck that you can kind of throw together like slightly, barely. And I think Sephiroth is going to be the thing that really like pushes that over to the edge. You have cards like Voice of, I can't think of it, the mobilized dude.
Voice of Victory.
Voice of Victory. You know, you go that on turn 2, you can play Sephiroth on 3, and like you start draining on the token sacrifices, and then it only takes an extra creature dying for you to do it. Like, you attack with your dudes, all three of them get in and live combat. You play Sephiroth, you sacrifice the voice, and then you get the other 2 tokens, and that you only need to find one more way to get rid of a creature in order to flip him. And when you flip him, he does also, like in Vivi fashion, just say like target player wins the game. Especially when like you can think that once he's transformed, you can play another Sephiroth and flip him again and get another emblem and just keep stacking them. And it also adds a much needed aspect into aristocrat styles decks where they run out of gas quickly because they're running a lot of little creatures. So he also does like fill that slot of like, I can sack my little dudes that I want to die anyways to draw a card, and then when he transforms I can keep refueling myself. And plus in Pioneer, he gets hit by Collected Company, and that is big game.
I think this card's nuts. So speaking of, with you mentioned it in standard, so I built it. I think that deck tech will already be out on the channel by the time that this video comes out. But I built an Abs and Aristocrats deck that I know I shared with our group chat a few days ago. And it plays Bartolome, which is a free sack outlet, which is also in white with Voice of Victory. So realistically, you could just go like turn 2 Voice of Victory, turn 3 this. And then, like, let's say one of your mobilized creatures lived after combat. It enters, sack your mobilized creature, draw a card, and then you untap, play Bartolome. Bartolome, you can attack, and then before damage or whatever, you could sack the mobilized tokens and flip this pretty easily.
Yeah, like I just think like I think all the pieces in Standard and Pioneer specifically are there to make Sephiroth really good. You just need to like sit and fine tune all the different pieces out of it, because you know it's depending on like if you want ETB or die triggers for the draining with other cards, like the other cards that you can use as free sack outlets like Woe Strider, or like if you want to play Midnight Rider or Midnight Reaper in order to like draw extra cards or whatever it may be. I think that on the surface he is good, but then when you start to really delve and build around him, he can pretty much just win you the game on his own, especially in an aristocrat style shell.
Yeah, there's a lot to like here. I think in most aristocrat builds, like of the past several years, the 3-drop of choice has been a Woe Strider because it gives you the sack outlet, but it doesn't really give you like, you get a goat and then you like scry a little bit. Like this thing is going to start drawing you cards, and it doesn't take a whole lot to flip it. And the upside of flipping it versus like escaping a Woe Strider later is just nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 5/5 flyer that permanently gives you Sephiroth's front side that also lets you draw a million cards if you get to attack with this thing again. Which, spoiler
the other
alert,
thing to note,
which, like, spoiler alert against me, you're never going to attack with Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, because at this point I'm picking up my cards because the game's over. Like,
yeah, you're just going to flip it. Like, the turn you untap with it, you're just going to flip it if you've built your deck correctly, and then it actually can just attack, right? Like it just transforms. It doesn't exile and come back.
yeah, it's a 5/5 flyer, just casually attacking.
Just attack for 5 in the air. Yeah, like that's it.
So cards nuts. No, go ahead, Hunter.
Yeah, I was thinking like you could even in Pioneer play it with cards like obviously like Rally the Ancestors, but the one card that came to mind specifically, honestly, over Rally with Sephiroth would be Meat Hook Massacre.
Yeah.
Because like it does everything you want it to. You could like Meat Hook for 2 later in the game, kill everything other than Sephiroth. He flips and gives you like that other trigger. Meat Hook Massacre triggers a bunch. Like I do think that there is a lot of potential with Sephiroth. He just needs to get built around a little more.
Yeah, that was one thing I talked about in the deck tech was it's very rare in Pioneer that we get a card that says whenever another creature dies. Normally it's just whenever a creature you control or an opponent controls, which is kind of, again, part of the reason why I don't think that this card was designed necessarily for Standard in mind, because we don't get cards, we don't get the Blood Artists where it's whenever any creature dies. So yeah, the fact that we got this just seems really good.
Yeah, and getting the emblem, like the emblem is big game, because aristocrat decks are super grindy. So even if you flip this once and then they like wrath you later, you're just never beating this emblem. Like every creature they draw is just going to drain you once or twice probably.
And like you can get multiple of these emblems. It's not like how, planeswalkers, you would get to their ultimate, it would give you an emblem, and then you have to fight tooth and nail to find another planeswalker and replay it. Like, you could potentially have like a Sephiroth within your first 3 draws while already having one in your hand, and it's still going to be such a viable strategy layer in the game, because then you can always just reflip it and get another one of these emblems.
Yeah, or just rally the ancestors, collected company, Aghadim, whatever your recursion element is. Like getting it back and re-triggering it is not going to be difficult.
No, not in any sense.
I mean, hear me out on this. Like, you could just go like have your board like sack all these creatures or whatever, and then obviously you have your Sephiroth and like something on the stack. You could, I don't know, rally for 5, rally for 3 for 5 mana, bring all your stuff back, trigger it more. Like the game's just pretty much over at that point, assuming you have one other, like the Cruel Celebrant or whatever. Like it's over.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot, and then this card's you're just gonna die. Like I think if this thing ever transforms, you're just gonna die a slow death if you don't just concede on the spot.
Yeah, it's not gonna like win you any fast races or anything like that, but I think Sephiroth is gonna bridge that gap for decks that want to have that kind of strategy to play better Magic against like the Izzet Prowess and the Mono Red and the Boros Mice and the Gruul Mice and all the nonsense fast decks that keep popping up in Pioneer and Standard, because this is like an at rate 3 mana 3/3 that nets you cards and gains you life, and that's like big game all on its own against those kinds of decks, especially saying the another creature. So when you kill their creatures, you're gaining life off of that too.
Yeah, this has got to be one of the best cards for aristocrats, in recent memory. I mean, maybe since Blood Artist itself.
Yeah, I would like to agree.
Yeah, no,
this
card
is just Blood Artist on steroids.
Yeah, it's just sweet, and it reminds me of when Bartolome was printed in Lost Caverns. I was like, yes, finally aristocrats got a piece in Pioneer, and like this feels like the biggest piece that this deck has had really since Pioneer's been a format, for being completely honest.
Yeah.
Yep,
for sure.
So, okay, let's go and move to my card. So my card is not as exciting as the most broken card in the set and probably like the second best card in the set. But it's really just because I wanted to talk about this card, and with there not really being any good dinosaurs in this set, I couldn't just auto pick a dinosaur, right? I had to pick a real card. So that card being Starting Town. I think this land is good. What it kind of reminds me of a little bit is we're about to lose a bunch of the fast lands in Standard, and this kind of feels like, all right, well, let's just make a rainbow land so that way like everyone gets a dual land. You get a dual land, you get a dual land, you get a dual land. It's kind of what it feels like for me personally. This is one of the few cards in the set that I really feel like was kind of designed, honestly, for Standard and Pioneer, just because realistically, like, if I'm playing Commander, I probably don't really want this land. I mean, this is like the 6th, 7th best rainbow land you could probably even play in Commander. So, I don't know. I think it's good. It's a fast land, but it's also like a mana confluence where you won't always take damage. I don't know. I think this card's good. I guess, what are your guys' opinions on this?
I think this is a lot better than Mana Confluence in most decks. It's just good fixing. It's not always going to deal you the damage, which is nice. Like most decks, unless you're playing like Niv Reborn, you can just tap it for a colorless most of the time. And like the speed of the game these days, this is probably coming in untapped most of the time you want it to come in untapped. We're all familiar with the fast lands, and they're a staple. They're pretty much always coming in untapped. And then, you just get mana of any color. It's great. I think this will see play in Standard for sure, and probably in a good number of Pioneer decks.
I'm pretty much just gonna I'm not gonna sit and beat a dead horse, because Ryan kind of gave my analysis too. Like it does everything you want it to do for the decks that it's supposed to go in, and in a lot of decks where you have a main color and you're doing like a light splash of another color, you only need like one or two of these at max on the field anyways. So if you play it within the first 3 turns, like you're going to be set because your mana is going to be fixed for the rest of the game now. And then as you draw your other lands, your mana will continue to be fixed, and then you don't have to tap this for any life loss.
Yeah, like I'm always thinking about putting Mana Confluence in my deck, and I'm just like, it just deals me a damage all the time, and this just doesn't do that. And it might come in tapped on turn 6 or 7, but it's a 5-color land.
Yeah, I really like this also in decks that like they want to like play specific things on curve. Like I think it's really just aggro that's gonna want this, but like imagine this. Like if you're trying to play Savage Knuckleblade on curve, this is like a great land to help you do that.
Yeah.
Like not that everyone's trying to play Savage Knuckleblade on curve in in 2025, but I don't know, it just seems good. Like again, if I'm playing standard and hey, I'm losing Copperline Gorge, this is probably my next best option, which I'm really not that mad about, if I'm being honest. Like, would I rather have Copperline? Obviously. But, like, this is still pretty solid. I'm all right with it. I also, the town synergy is not good enough for any constructed play. Just wanted to be clear on that. There's, like, 2 good town cards in this set, and they're not even, like, that big of payoffs. So, don't be like, oh, well, it's a town. Why didn't you talk about it being a town? It's because towns suck. That's why.
Yeah, you can just delete that from the card. It doesn't really meaningfully change.
Yeah, I don't care that it's a town. I don't. It's a start. I'm just starting out strong. Like if I play a turn 1 starting town.
Town matters in the formats where this is not going to see play.
Yeah, exactly.
So the type line does not exist.
Yeah, but if I'm like the only way I'm playing this in Commander is if I'm playing a town deck. Other than that, I don't want this card. Like.
No, I don't
like,
want...
if I'm playing Field of the Dead, I might play it, but like,
nah, I'm just never playing this card in Commander. I don't know. Maybe they do play the fast lands, but I don't think they do. And this is just...
I could see playing I'm not a big fan of fast lands in the format either. At least playing in Commander, but like if I'm playing like, even if I'm playing a 5-color deck, like I'm not playing this card. Like at this point, I'd rather play like a Vivid land that in a 5-color deck than I would play this.
They play a Vivid, but like there are better options, I think, because this is gonna come into play tapped almost every time.
Right.
And then like just play a fetch land and a Triome or something. Like there's better options.
Reflecting Pool. I mean, there's obviously we already have Command Tower, which is just the best land that you can play. I mean, there's a ton of rainbow lands in Pioneer or in Commander now. Like it seems like every other set they come out with, it's like a somewhat situational rainbow land to where you probably wouldn't want anything like this. Like, I guess, like, if you really were going for a reach, you would maybe want this in that stupid Ulalek Commander deck, where you, like, want colorless, but you also want mana of any color. But, like, that's it. That's, like, the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it is cute that you tap for colorless or any color, like, if that matters. But, yeah most of the time.
Yeah, like
I see this in...
Yeah, maybe like in Pioneer, yeah. Maybe if in Pioneer, if I'm playing, like, is it Eldrazi or something like that, like, yeah, I'd probably want this, like, along with my Shivan Reef, Sounds good as Shivan Reef, but still solid.
Oh, so, I think it's better than Shivan Reef in the right deck.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the right deck, but I think it's just a good catch-all. I know some people kind of are, like, having bad memories of Thran Portal when everyone was like, yo, this is sick, and then everyone realized it was horrible. So like a lot of people are scared of just getting hit by Thran Portal 2.0, but this is much better than Thran Portal.
Thran Portal suffered from it being, I think you had to pick the color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was horrible. And then it always pained you, even when you like just wanted a colorless source. Like you still got pained for it.
Yeah.
So this is just this is not Thran Portal.
No.
This is so much better than Thran Portal.
So, okay. Well, I guess the last thing we'll hop into, at least with other Final Fantasy cards, was there any other Final Fantasy cards that you guys wanted to highlight at all? At least cards you think that could be pretty good, or?
No.
Yeah, I'll shout out my 2 utility picks. Suplex. Suplex is just sorcery speed Abrade, but it exiles the things instead. I think there's probably a good home for that somehow. I'm not sure if I'm going to play it over Abrade in my Pioneer sideboards, but I might. And then there's battle menu. Battle menu is 1 and a white instant. Let me pull it up so I don't miss any of the modes because it has 4 modes. You can either make a 2/2, give a creature +0/+4, destroy a creature with power 4 or greater, or you gain 4 life. Okay, you gain 4 life kind of sucks. But you get a reprisal, you get a combat trick to save a creature, or you get a flash 2/2. I don't know if that's good enough for Pioneer. I mean, it's a knight. It's not like the most relevant creature type.
I mean,
but
it's a monocolor Selesnya charm. Like, I'm in.
Yeah, that's kind of when I read it, I was like, Selesnya charm. This is Selesnya charm. I don't think it's as good as Selesnya charm, but it's close. And it's 1 color.
One thing I do like with the suplex is with the obviously with Quarry Steelcutter being good, at least with like Pioneer and Standard, you could definitely like Abrade style effects are back now. They were bad in Pioneer for like years. Now it's back. Now you want Abrades in your sideboard. But the one thing that is nice with it is, I guess, like, put it this way: if you're playing Obliterating Bolt, I think you play Suplex for sure. Unless a bunch of people are playing Steel Leaf Champions in your metagame, you could just pretty easily swap into Suplex. You're not killing Shieldred anyway, so you might as well make the swap. But yeah, I think Suplex is pretty good. I think it's probably one of the better uncommons in the set.
Yeah, getting to exile their Voice of Resurgence or their, Sephiroth, Vivi, pretty good.
Oh, Vivi. Yeah, I'll be honest, I can't even remember other cards in this set that I was pretty excited to talk about. I know I'm coming out, at least as of recording of this video, like, I haven't done my top 10 cards from the set yet. Yeah, I mean, there's cards that I think are good in this set. Also, shout out Dark Confidant. Not going to be fantastic for the most part, but, like, I'm happy that people that really love the card will get to play it again.
I really love the card, and I'm excited. I think it will see. It's not going to be like it was 15 years ago, but I think it will have some niche play in Standard and Pioneer.
I think it is hot garbage for the way the state of the game for Standard and Pioneer is.
For lack of
in the like mono red turn 3 format, it's not very good.
For lack of better terms, I can't wait for like some like old head to go to FNM. Like I could see you doing this, Ryan. Like, you're like, you know what? I love Bob. I'm gonna play Rakdos mid-range and just put 4 Bobs in my deck. And you're gonna you're gonna crush some like relatively new person, and they're gonna be like, dude, Dark Confidant is insane, and then he's gonna like buy 4 Dark Confidants to play in his deck, and then like it's just gonna spread from there.
He's gonna put it in like black green dinosaurs and like
he's gonna flip a Ghalta
and be like, "What? This card's terrible. Why did I lose to this card?"
That's what I'm excited for. Is like the people that want to play these cards can. And I like, this is one thing I always preach, is I love it when Wizards reprints iconic cards back into Standard. Is like, people will come and play Standard to play these specific cards. Like, people, when Dominator United came out, I remember so many like modern players were excited the fact that Liliana was reprinted, and they threw a deck together because they're like, I want to play Lily. Like, I'll just play a bunch of black cards in Liliana the Veil because I like the card. And I feel like that's how Dark Confidant is, because like at this point we're really, really close to getting Jund in Pioneer. I mean, like, we're like the old school Jund deck. We're so close. We're only missing a few pieces.
Unban Geological Appraiser, I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Had it not been Wizards of the Coast not knowing how to do Discover right, we would have had Bloodbraid Elf.
Yes. And that's like all you really need. I mean, we're never going to get Tarmogoyf in Pioneer, I don't think. But, you can find
I don't know, man. I personally think Tarmogoyf wouldn't be good in Pioneer.
I don't think it would be.
I don't think it would be that good. No, I don't think it'd be that good.
Nate and I tested it a few years ago in Pioneer, and it was just okay. Like, it wasn't even that good. It was just okay.
It's just a big dude. That's a fatal push. Like, whatever.
I mean, I think, honestly, I mean, you can quote me on it now. I think within a year, Tarmogoyf will be reprinted for Standard.
Wow, bold claim.
I know.
I will agree with him.
I'm calling it, like, with the amount of reprints from old Modern All-Stars that we've gotten in the last, like, year and a half, I think Tarmogoyf is right around the corner. Because, I mean, remember, you got to think, a year ago, when they kept reprinting Dark Confidant, that was my big thing was, guys, it's coming to standard. Like, they're gonna reprint this card, and then they finally did it.
Yeah.
So,
but like I don't know, Bob is just not like, it has not stood the test of time very well, unfortunately, because I love Bob. But Tarmogoyf's still just a pretty beefy boy. Like, even in standard, you don't have fetch lands or anything, but you can make it work.
yeah, I mean, I think Goyf will still be like good. Like, if they put it into standard right now, like
It'd be too good. Too good.
Oh no, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, way too good, dude.
So, okay, let's go and hop into the main thing. And this is honestly, I did not expect for us to talk for like almost an hour about Final Fantasy cards. I thought that was going to be like a 10-minute thing, which is totally fine. But let's talk about Universes Beyond. So, I'm going to go ahead and set the stage for Universes Beyond here. All right, so Universes Beyond, obviously, we're a handful of sets in, you know, like they've made Lord of the Rings, they made they're making Final Fantasy, they made Assassin's Creed, which everyone forgot about. They made what is it? I'm looking at the booster pack on my wall over there. Fallout. You know, they've made a decent amount of these sets so far. Largely, not a lot of issues for the most part. Most of them obviously were not modern legal. It was just for like legacy, vintage, commander people, casual people liked it. Totally fine, not a problem. Then Wizards of the Coast drops the big bombshell. I wish I had looked this up exactly, but it was at the last big event. I want to say it was Vegas of last year is when they did this. And they announced that all Universes Beyond sets moving forward were going to be standard legal. And it largely was extremely negative, and for different reasons. People all had their different, you know, things, which I guess I can give a brief explanation. Some people want the Magic to be Magic. Like, you can do whatever you want, Commander, but I want Standard and all the regular sets. I want it to be Magic. You know, some people were mad just because it felt like, great, now I have to buy these cards that are good even though I don't really want them. And then there's like the stereotypical, oh, well, I can't wait in Magic in 10 years to be attacking with my SpongeBob, and then my opponent blocks with a Winnie the Pooh, and then like in response I use whatever. You guys know what I'm trying to say. So I guess let's just talk about Universes Beyond. I guess we'll kind of split it up into sections, like things we like, things we don't like. We could talk about gameplay specifics, which that's one of my points. I guess that's like, I'm pro Universes Beyond being in standard for, which we'll get to that. So Ryan, I'm gonna let you start because you've been playing Magic the longest out of everyone here. You said you played since like Invasion, so like you've been you played for a long time. Just set the stage. I guess, what are your opinions on Universes Beyond being standard legal?
I hate it. No, no.
All right, and that's the end of the podcast. Thanks so much for.
No. So the longer answer to that is I got into Magic. I mean, even actually longer ago than that. I got in around 6th edition, and I played off and on for a while. And you know, I really started playing, not really competitively, but more often around Invasion Block, and then competitively in like Scars of Mirrodin. I've been playing for a while. And the thing about Universes Beyond is that I think it takes away from Magic. Like, Magic was its own unique IP, and it had its own unique story to tell. And back in the day, the story was so not just good, but like integral to what the card game was, that they used to print a book, like a novel, every set, and they would put it into what we now call the bundles. I think back then they called them fat packs.
Yeah.
They probably relanguaged that a little bit. But you would get a novel. You would get like a real novel. And particularly the Invasion ones were quite good. So that used to be one of the big selling points of the game, was that the story was not only just good, but it tied into the cards, and it was something unique and authentically Magic the Gathering. And now, like, I can't remember when this really started, probably around Ikoria with the Godzilla thing. I don't know if they did anything like this before then. They may have dabbled in it. But like they started letting other IPs creep in, and now I mean it's Secret Lair, it's the alternate versions of cards, it's universes beyond, it's you're just getting drowned in all this other IP. Like, I mean, Eli said it all. I don't want to have to play my delivery Moogle and, my opponent counters it with a SpongeBob SquarePants counterspell. Like, that's just not Magic to me. I'm just playing like, Marvel Snap or like whatever other game that just like throws a bunch of IPs together. So I
Fortnite.
really don't like it not from a design perspective per se, but like just in my experience of the game, it's not the experience of the game that I want. And we can talk about the more like mechanical aspects of it. Like maybe there are some benefits for being in standard versus this or that. But like I don't like how much of the game it has taken up. And I felt like until recently, if you wanted to ignore Universes Beyond, it used to be that they were basically just Legacy and Commander, and then they crept into Modern. I think that was Lord of the Rings was the first one, and it was like,
Yep.
okay, I don't hate Lord of the Rings, and like it's just Lord of the Rings, so okay. And then like the next one and the next one, and now it's going to be everything. They're just going to be everywhere. I don't like it from that perspective.
Yeah, and before we hop into your thoughts on this, Hunter, I know one of the things that you had mentioned was, at least with them being in standard now. God, where am I going with this? Actually, my apologies. The point I was about to say is something I want to save for when I go to my main thing. So Hunter, I'm gonna have you actually go ahead and take over.
I wish that I could say that I'm not trying to purposely piggyback off of like everything that Ryan is talking about this entire podcast, but I just like fully agree. Like it was a cool niche thing when it was like more of like a commander focused like special art and stuff like that. Like it was just special art and stuff like that, and the only people who cared about it were commander players. Like I still have a magic card that is this unique card to be able to play with in the formats that I actually play. And then like once the Lord of the Rings came out and it was not magic anymore, and then like it just kept happening. And like the biggest gripe that I have with the whole thing is, I'm sure what we're going to get into here soon, is they're printing stuff into these sets themselves instead of making things specifically for magic at this point, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So like I'm not
No, go
not
ahead.
going
You're
to
good.
say that not going to say that I'm having a difference of opinion. I'm just trying to, I guess, air out more of the dirty laundry issue that literally everybody has with it. Is it's just not magic anymore, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so Final or not Final Fantasy. I keep saying Final Fantasy. Universes Beyond, which Final Fantasy is part of. So initially, when they announced it, I remember a long time ago I was watching the stream that announced it, and I was like, I mean, okay, like I have to imagine it's going to be stuff that's like Magic, and it was like, okay, we're doing Lord of the Rings. I'm like, okay, like me personally, I want to call myself I'm a vanilla nerd. I'm really just into Magic and Pokemon. I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, and I'm not crazy into Marvel and like or Lord of the Rings. Like I'm not really into any other nerd cultures. So there's not really any universes beyond thing they could ever do that I would be like, oh my god, no way. Like it nothing that's ever going to affect me. But I love Magic's IP. Part of the reason I've been playing Magic for 10 years and decided to do a YouTube channel because I love talking about Magic and playing Magic is because I love Magic. I love Magic how it is. And I'm not a big fan of the Universes Beyond sets because it feels like now we get less of the game that I love. And that's, at least, I don't want to say my frustration comes from. It's more just like, it's upsetting because I feel like Magic has changed a lot, and Magic has changed in ways that I personally don't like. In the sense that, like we talked about in the last episode, my absolute favorite thing about Magic is Friday Night Magic. It's my absolute favorite thing. It's my favorite aspect of the game. You get all different kinds of players, and that's what I really like. Which I'm not saying Universes Beyond is the reason why it's like this, and it's not. And actually, I think Universes Beyond could help that, and that's kind of why I have a sliver of hope for Universes Beyond. But I'm not a fan of it. I love the Magic sets, and honestly, one thing that I find interesting with Universes Beyond, with it being 50% of Magic sets now. So there's players that I know, at least at a basic level, that started playing because of these Universes Beyond sets. You know, they bought the SpongeBob Secret Lair. They saw Final Fantasy was coming out, and they're starting to ask me about Magic because they're excited about it, and things of that nature. When Tarkir Dragonstorm came out, there were so many players that talked about how excited they were that, like, they like when they started playing Magic, they learned about Magic, at least maybe initially because of these Universes Beyond sets, but because of goblins and dragons and knights and vampires and demons. And when Tarkir came out, they were excited because they started playing with Bloomburrow, with mice and, you know, bunnies and birds, and like now it's back to mythical cool creatures, these dragons. Like, that's cool. That's what people like to see. That's what people want to play with. Like, I guess I'm talking more of a casual crowd here a little bit now, but people like that stuff. And when they saw Tarkir Dragonstorm, they're like, this feels like a Magic set. And you want to know what? I don't know the exact numbers, but I already know that Tarkir Dragonstorm was a huge success. So it's, if anything, it's proving to Wizards that, hey, your guys' IP is really, really strong. And I get that you're trying to bring in all these new players, but like, people love the main sets. They're very successful. Like, I mean, that's just my opinion on that, at least specifically regarding Universes Beyond. But again, I'm largely not a fan of it. I love Magic IPs. I love seeing Sarkhan and Garrick, and I love seeing Elspeth and all these other characters that they've made. I love them a lot more than seeing, you know, like Spider-Man, Green Goblin, Cloud. Like, I'd rather see them. When I see sets like Final Fantasy, like, it's one thing if the set felt like it wasn't necessarily designed for 60 card, that's a whole nother thing. But like, I don't get excited seeing Cloud, but I get excited seeing Basri and Nissa and all these characters that we've seen in Magic. So like, that's at least my interpretation of that. I guess, do you guys have anything to add before I add my own personal, like, one positive to this change?
I fairly much agree with you with the fact is, like, that's exactly the feeling that I have when I see these sets, is that this isn't a Magic set. Whereas, like, when Dragonstorm came out, like, I remember playing at the local game store for pre-release for Cons of Tarkir and that entire block, and that was probably some of the most fun I've ever had. Like, obviously there's nostalgia glasses, like, don't get me wrong, I understand that is some aspect of it, but there was just so much that you could do with those cards and how you could build decks and all the different things, and like, that much is what felt like Magic. And when Dragonstorm came out, that felt like a Magic set. But if it's going to get to the point where they're just going to keep getting overshadowed and overpowered by these supplemental Universes Beyond sets, like, it's not Magic anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to play with like Spider-Man and Green Goblin and what, I would just play some Marvel game, right? Like, Magic is Magic because of the story and the universes and the characters that they built up over 30 years now. Like, that's what makes me want to play the game. Now, you go ahead, Eli. You can jump into your take on why there might be some silver lining here.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so my silver lining, and this is the only thing that, like, could possibly help. At least this is more of like a me thing. This isn't necessarily the greater good of Magic per se. But, and I can speak from this at least on a personal level because this happened to a friend of mine. So a friend of mine got into Magic relatively recently. And so I told him, like, hey, there's local game stores that you can buy all this product from, you know, to kind of get you started. I kind of gave him some pointers in terms of, you know, what you should be looking to buy. So he buys his stuff. He comes over to my house. He's like, all right, let's take it. You know, I'll show you what I got. And he pulls out this Lord of the Rings 2-player battle deck thing. and he's like all excited to play it. We played some games with it, and obviously, me being a Pioneer, Standard, and at the time Modern player, he was talking about wanting to play some of these cards, and I had to unfortunately tell him that he couldn't actually play any of those cards pretty much in any of the formats that I usually play, which, not to say that he couldn't play them at his local game store, at least specifically with Lord of the Rings, obviously Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, which a new player is only going to play Commander most of the time. But obviously, I'm showing him how to play. We're not playing Commander. Trust me. We're learning how to play some good old-fashioned Magic, let me tell you.
Real Magic.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, he's like, oh, so these cards are useless. And I'm like, kinda. And I feel like to a certain extent, like, that's other people's problems. Like, hypothetically, like, let's say Final Fantasy wasn't Pioneer legal or whatever. How frustrating would it be for someone just getting into the game? They're like, oh, I'm buying all this Final Fantasy stuff, and I'm watching, Commander Crane's videos on how to play, and then, all right, I'm ready to play at my local game store. And then you walk in because you're like, oh, they're doing a tournament on Friday. It's a tournament. Cool. And I show up with my Universes Beyond Final Fantasy deck, and then none of the cards are legal. Oh, so you're telling me I built this deck, and I spent a few $100s, and now I can't even play in this tournament? Like, why can't I? They're Magic cards. They were just printed. And I feel like that's the one positive of this, is with all the new sets coming out, is regardless, like, with Final Fantasy, you can build your deck, with the exception of the Commander decks, which is a whole nother problem, I guess, that this will likely lead to, is if you open a bunch of Final Fantasy booster packs and build a deck, you can go to any format and you can play the deck. Like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're doing Standard, Commander, they're doing Pioneer Knight, you can play that. And I think that's the one positive in terms of making things easier for newer players, but also the fact that these Universes Beyond sets are likely going to bring a lot of new players into the game, and potentially they might grow a love from the game and start playing at Friday Night Magic because, oh, hey, Friday, that's the main day to go play Magic. And, like, obviously they'll maybe, I don't want to say grow out of the just playing Final Fantasy cards, but they learn, like, there are others, there's other cards, and then they start building from there. So my hope is that that does happen, and we could see a resurgence of players at FNM. I likely just see a lot of those players gravitating toward Thursday and Saturday Night Commander, which is the unfortunate thing. But one thing, too, that is the potential downside is with this push of Universes Beyond, a lot of players, I mean, not like a crazy amount. Like, obviously, there's the angry Redditors that are saying, like, oh, I'm quitting Magic because of this. Realistically, there is going to be some people that do, maybe start gravitating away from Magic just because they just don't like that change. But I'm happy with the potential new influx of players that could lead to higher attendance at the local game stores. And that's the end of my speech.
So, I like the magical Christmas land you live in, where, like, new players are going to open packs of Final Fantasy and then want to come play, like, semi-competitively FNM. I just don't think these sets are targeted at anyone but kitchen table or Commander players.
Correct.
And, like, I don't see this revitalizing. Like, I think we talked about the problems with Standard and the problems with FNM on another episode. I don't see this fixing that. Now, I do agree, when you open a pack and then you show up to the shop and they're like, actually, that card's not legal in this format. Sorry, buddy. Like, that's a feel bad. But, like, that's any tournament of any card game anywhere. Like, there's always going to be deck building rules. There's always going to be a banned list. There's always going to be formats. Like, it's a barrier to entry, but it's a necessary barrier to entry. So I agree with you on, like, the broader strokes of it. I just don't think it's going to translate into the kind of changes we want to see for FNM or for Standard.
Yeah, no, honestly,
Yeah.
and like, I agree with what you said. And, like, definitely what I said, like, Magical Christmas Land, like, maybe this will potentially happen. But yeah, you're right. I mean, especially looking at Final Fantasy, which is the first set of the new, like, all Universes Beyond sets are standard legal now. Like, maybe it'll hopefully change in the near future, but yeah, like this set, I mean, most of the cards are not playable for Standard or Pioneer. I know people are hoping that it's going to potentially shake up Standard a little bit. It's not. All that's probably going to happen is a few decks are going to get a new sideboard card or a spicy one of, and that's basically it. I mean, this set was for Commander players, which when they started developing this set, that's what it was intended for, so I'm not going to fault them for that. And yeah,
I will.
I guess it reinvigorates me a little bit in the sense that I didn't want to spend money on the set, and I still really am not going to have to.
They need to stop designing like sets that are going to go into like quote unquote competitive formats. They have to stop designing those for Commander and then also printing a Commander version of the set.
I was really just going to say that too. Like,
yeah,
y'all got
like,
y'all got 4 new Commander decks this set. You also need like a third of the main set for also Commander? Like, come on.
Yeah, like we gave you guys a whole Commander release every single time a set comes out. And you're like, I also want booster boxes of the main set for Commander cards, please.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. What give me like a few Commander cards in the set and then give me like the competitive booster box. Give me that.
What honestly, one thing that kind of pissed me off with Tarkir Dragonstorm is how they made 2 spicy 4-drop dragons that would have been awesome in Standard and Pioneer, and they put them in the goddamn Commander deck. I was absolutely livid.
Oh, it's so annoying. Like every time I see a cool spoiler, I'm like, oh wait, is that for me or is that just for Commander players only? And it's like the same feel bad, right? Like they're doing it in reverse. They're showing us all these cool cards, and then you'd be like, but you can only play that one in Commander. It's like, oh, fuck, I don't want to play Commander. I want to play Pioneer or Standard or Modern.
During spoiler
just
season,
show me cards I can play with.
During spoiler season, I've grown to the first thing I look at with the card is look at the set symbol.
Me too.
Yep.
Okay, it's like in this set, it's okay. It's not the bird. Okay, I'll read the card.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
But no, Hunter,
It's so bad.
I know you were
True.
gonna say something.
Yeah, so like this was an ongoing issue in battle that I've had internally for a while now with Magic, and it took some time of like dealing with all the ups and downs and all that other kind of BS that comes with it in order to really get to this point. But I've just kind of finally put myself in the mind frame of Magic is no longer for me.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not in a sense of like, I'm no longer allowed to play Magic or enjoy Magic or whatever it is. It's that Wizards of the Coast is not supporting players like me or like Ryan or like you, Eli, or like any of the guys that we've played with over the last 2 to 3 years. You know, they have stopped catering to people like us in almost every capacity. They care more about their kitchen table players, the people who are going to come in. Oh, I've never played Magic before, but I've played, you know, like Final Fantasy, every single one that's come out. I own all the game stations to this day. Like, I'm going to buy, you know, $500 worth of Final Fantasy Magic product so I can get like these cards that I want because I don't know what a secondary market is. And you multiply that by, you know, the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Final Fantasy fans or Fallout fans or Lord of the Rings fans that do that exact thing. They're buying it for the novelty. It's turned into more of a novelty style game versus a competitive card game where people get rewarded more. It's turned into a game where competitive players are no longer rewarded other than monetary prizes for the effort that they put in at being good in the game. Like, the player base has almost had to upkeep that role because Wizards has just kind of like taken their foot out of the pool in support of like the competitive events. And it all really started, in my opinion, with the whole like them not doing the judging thing anymore, you know? And that should have been like the first sign that like Magic is slowly evolving into not a competitively fully supported game anymore. If they just care about selling the product to these niche buyers who are just going to sit on the kitchen table with their friends and learn how to play Magic, and not, people like us who sit and play Arena or make content on YouTube, or we go to bigger tournaments and grind into the competitive scene to get to top spots and stuff like that. Like, there's just not, it's not for us anymore. Like, we can still go and do those things. Those events are still held, but the amount of secondary parties that have had to find ways to continue to hold big events versus Wizards being the ones that always put on those big events, it's like an astounding change from where Magic was 5 to 7 years ago. Like, when I first really started delving in the competitive scene, it was beautiful, it was amazing, it was supported by Wizards. But now it's up to the player base and the other people like Star City Games or TCG Player, and the bigger corporations that are secondary Magic supporters. It's almost fallen on their shoulders to upkeep the competitive scene and aspect of the game, whereas Wizards is just kind of given up on it.
Even the secondary tournament organizers like Star City, 10 years ago, 2014, 2015, even, Star City Games was putting on a big event, 2-3 day event every weekend. And now there just aren't that many big events that you can go to.
Yeah, also,
and I agree. Wizards has decided at some point in the last maybe 5 to 10 years that they make more money by selling to kitchen table players and commander players than they do selling to the hardcore spikes. And, if that's how they make their money, then so be it. But you're right. I don't think the games are designed with the spike in mind anymore. Magic used to be a game where, it was about the Pro Tour. It was about the competitive scene. I remember there's some great commercials, if you want to do some YouTubing, from ESPN, where they were advertising Magic as a hardcore competitive esport back in the late 90s or early 2000s. That's just not a thing.
The fucking best.
They're so good.
These guys don't look that tough.
Yeah,
they're playing Magic the Gathering.
Mark Justice once started a riot at the Pro Tour. Wow. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, good times. Right. Anyway.
So I've got two things I need to add to this as well. So this is it goes two ways with not being a priority, but also catering to the casual crowd. One thing I want to mention with this spoiler season has been the most frustrating and also what the hell moment. So this spoiler season's been going on for a month at this point, which is extremely frustrating. It was also extremely frustrating how Final Fantasy was announced and they started advertising this set even before, what was the last set that came out? Tarkir Dragonstorm? Yeah, before we saw any Tarkir Dragonstorm, they were already showing off all these Final Fantasy cards and promoting the set. And it was and I remember being at MagicCon Chicago, and it was when Aether Drift.
Aether Drift.
Oh, Aether Drift was the newest set. And they were already promoting Final Fantasy. It's guys, the set's been out for a week. Can we calm down for just a minute? And it was
Aether Drift didn't exist.
What's up?
Aether Drift almost didn't exist.
Yeah, it really did.
Aether Drift was out for a couple weeks, and they had a spoiler or two for Dragonstorm, and then it was but also we want to talk about Final Fantasy.
Right, and that was what I was frustrated with, was man, imagine putting this much effort into your actual IPs instead of Final Fantasy. Imagine how much more people would hear about this set. Because, it seems every single week there's, all these live streams talking about the new cards, and there's all this other stuff, and, every ad you see since, I don't know, again, Chicago has been Final Fantasy MTG, Final Fantasy MTG, and it's man, imagine if, any other set would have gotten that much hype, which they never do. So that's one thing I'm frustrated with. The second thing was, prioritizing the commander players and the casuals and stuff like that. What immediately came to my mind was, we went to MagicCon Chicago. Hunter, you went last year. Ryan, you went this year, right? So you've all been to a MagicCon, okay? So you walk in, it's this, all these cool vendors and all this cool stuff, and oh, the commander pods are over in the corner with all the weird like architecture and stuff like that. Like, oh wow, this looks awesome. Oh, where's all the side events and where's the main event? Oh, it's in the basement. Yeah, you gotta go downstairs. It's like this weirdly lit room. If you guys want to go play competitive Magic, you go down there.
Yep.
And I understand that not every venue was built that way, and I'm sure, at least I would assume it's not. I've only been to MagicCon Chicago. But yeah, like, I've never even realized that till just now. Oh, if you want to go play, if you want to play, like, regular Magic, yeah, it's downstairs. Have fun. It's apart from everything we're doing up here. It's nowhere close to anything. Just go downstairs.
So I signed up for the sealed at Chicago. When were we there? February, March, something like that.
February,
wasn't that long ago. Yeah. And so I signed up for the quote unquote the main event, right? The sealed, like all day sealed event that gets you an invite to the Pro Tour if you win. And I go downstairs and I'm trying to find the right desk or judge's table or whatever they call it, like the registration booth. Because, this venue's huge. And I snag a judge and I'm like, hey, where's the registration for the main event? And he says to me, what do you mean by main event? And I'm like, holy crap. How far have we come in 5 years?
That's
where it's
awful.
Like, no, but I mean, he was right in a sense. Like, what do I mean by main event? Am I talking about the commander thing? Am I talking about like the thing where you build a deck with the professor? Or am I, like, what's the main event? And it used to be like, you went to the main event. It was a Grand Prix. It was, 2 days of Modern or whatever. And then there'd be side events. You can go to a commander pod. You can go do a wacky draft or whatever. But there was the main event. And that's not how it is anymore.
No, the main, like when you would go to a big event like that back in the day, and I get they're different now. There's more things to do. But yeah, it was like, if you're going to the Grand Prix, like 2/3 of the people there were there to play the Grand Prix. Like, it's just how it was.
Yep.
So, yeah, the fact that, like, the big, like, I don't remember what the prize pool was, but yeah, the big 2-day standard Aether Drift sealed event that I paid over $100 to play in, like, that's the main event. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah.
Can you imagine showing up to like Grand Prix Detroit like 5 years ago and being like, I'm here for the main event, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Here's the thing, and it might get a little loud for our people with earbuds or whatever in. You didn't have to ask where the main event was. You walk in the goddamn door and you know right where it's at.
The whole thing is the main event.
You walk in, you're like, there it is. It's right there.
Yeah, you're like GP whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, it's there. That's the main event. Like, it's just the main event, and then there's like one booth elsewhere where you can be like, I want to do a draft, and they'd be like, okay.
And I'll give Star City Games some credit. Like, I've been to a few of their SCG cons recently. You can generally tell what's going on where. Like, they have their designated, like, okay, here's where the commander players are at. You all go over here. Here's the main event. Over there in the corners, all the side event tables. You can figure it out pretty easily. And then you want to know what? When you sign up, it'll say, oh, hey, you need to go to the red flag in the middle of the room. That's where your event's at. You meet there. Boom, you're done. So, I don't know. But yeah, that's really funny that, like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, you guys just go over there. Whatever. You guys are playing Magic. Like, weird. Not even 100 cards. That's kind of weird.
My jaw almost hit the floor when he was like, what do you mean by main event? I was like I felt like I was in Bizarro World. Like, what do you mean? What do I mean the main event? But that's how it is now. Like, they cater more to, like, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, I don't want viewers to get the impression that, like, we're just dunking on everybody who's not going to Grand Prix every weekend.
No,
it's the difference between which would be nice. But it's just a shift in focus from Wizards, from the more spike player to the more like, I don't know a lot about Magic, but I want to try it kind of player. And I think that's primarily what has had consequences for F&M and for wider competitive play.
Yeah, because it used to be more of like a new set would come out, and it would be, we're releasing this set into standard. It is going to be legal in these formats. It is going to rotate out of standard in 2 years on this date with these formats. And then it was like, we're also going to release a deck builder's toolkit, a starter kit, and 4 commander decks with the set. And that was it. That was it.
The commander decks thing, that used to be a once a year thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't even every set.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
you
even
just
before,
have like Commander 2015, Commander 2016, like that was it. You get like 5 decks.
And so like it went from that, and it was, we're releasing a set for our competitive scene of Magic to keep things going the way they should be, but we're also gonna sprinkle in a little stuff that if a new player wants to come and try the new things, there are gonna be little options for them that they can do. Like I thought it was a great idea when they started releasing the challenger decks and the meta game decks and stuff like that. Like it didn't have all the pieces, it had most of the stuff, and they were like out of the box playable with a sideboard, the 9 yards. Like that was a great idea in my opinion, because it encouraged new players to be able to I've only played kitchen table for the last year, but I want to go to my first tournament. I can go spend $50 and I have the buy-in, I have a deck that's ready to play, and I have sleeves, so I can look through the cards while I'm sleeving it up, see what the deck is kind of about, figure out what the synergies and game plan is, and then I can go and play slightly competitive Magic, and I could probably cheese out at least a match win out of the 4 that I'm going to play. But now it's turned into such a reversal role where all of these extra things that they're printing every time a set comes out, it's not catering towards that kind of way of thinking of bringing new players into the game.
God, bring back the challenger decks. My goodness.
Yeah, dude.
Along those lines, though, I think Eli and I were talking about this before the podcast, but look at all the cards in Final Fantasy and judge them just based on how complex they would be to a new player. They're incredibly complex. This is not how you get a new player to understand the basic mechanics of the game. Right? You used to do that through core set, because core set cards were very simple. They didn't have a lot of text. They didn't have a lot of ability words. They were just very basic cards, and a new player could pick up a core set booster pack or a core set starter deck and really learn the mechanics of the game. And that is what gets you into F&M. You're like, oh, I understand how the game works now. I can go try to build a deck, and I can go try to take it to F&M and see if it works. You can't really do that with Final Fantasy if you're not already a pretty good player. These cards are very complicated.
So many cards have shrunken text on them because of how many words they have on here and different things.
Remember when Questing Beast was the all-star in Pioneer and Standard because he was just word soup? Questing Beast doesn't see any play in Pioneer anymore because every card is now just word soup.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, Questing Beast isn't even that complicated because most of the text doesn't. It's just keywords and a couple niche abilities.
Yeah.
Compare that to Vivi.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Or Sephiroth. Show a new player a transform card and explain it to them.
Explain to a new player what an emblem is. It's it's a card that's part of the game, but you can't interact with it in any meaningful way, and you can get multiple of emblems and multiple of the same emblem.
Yeah, it's oh well, can I suplex it? No, you cannot. Oh well, can I final whatever it? No, you cannot.
Can I SpongeBob
this is very
counterspell it?
Intuitive. Yes, no, you cannot.
So
no, you can't.
I have to mention this with the challenger decks. So those were awesome when they did those for Standard and Pioneer. And here's the thing is they haven't done those in a long time. So I'm in a bunch of random Pioneer Discords and subreddits and stuff like that. I would say almost every single day someone posts in one of them, "Hey, I'm looking to get into Pioneer. I don't know where to start. Are the Challenger decks from 2022 still a good pickup?" And it's
Yes.
It's crazy how people still, which the answer is yes. And it's crazy how why did they stop doing those? Like, it was a great pickup, and it was honestly, it was good for everybody. It was good for the new players because they could walk in, I want to play standard. Here, buy this standard deck. It's basically pretty tuned, and you're going to do pretty well with it. As long as you're not a horrible Magic player, you'll go 2-1 or 3-0. I heard so many stories of people buying the Pioneer ones and winning their FNM that night with the deck they just picked up. It was nice because you got the new players into the game. Experienced players were like, you don't know what, I might as well pick up the Is It Phoenix deck. It's got like 70% of what I need. So it was good for that. And you want to know what? It was good for the scalpers a little bit because the scalpers, they buy them up and then they break them apart for singles, make a few bucks, and people would still be able to buy the singles they wanted anyways. Like, it was kind of like it was a pretty good product. It really was. I mean, they stopped doing them, which is unfortunate because people still ask for them all the time, and it was just a good pickup in general. It was a solid product.
Yeah, that's what they need to do to get players into the game, is to make the formats accessible. And
Yes.
like, in the sense of like, you can play with the cards that you already bought if you wanted to buy Final Fantasy anyway. It does that to some extent, but it's not really the fix that players like you and I are looking for. Like, challenger decks were good because but by the time they were like really, I remember when they started with like, I forget what they called them before they were challenger decks. They were like, I don't remember, but they were bad. Like, they were really, you get a birthing pod deck, it had one birthing pod.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
The modern
this
event
isn't
deck.
really the deck.
So one thing I think that Wizards needs to do better about with the challenger decks, like, now that I guess we're kind of talking about this a little bit, we're going off on a weird tangent, but it still applies because it applies to the universes beyond people, is honestly, like, with Foundations, they made that really good toolkit, which like had a lot of great tools for new players to start with. But here's the problem, is a new player, they're going to look at that, okay, I can't remember the exact price. I want to say it was like $60 for this kit, which was a good deal, and it still is a good deal. It still applies. But a new player is going to be like, okay, well, I could buy $60 of cards that I already know what's in there. But I could buy $60 worth of cards that I don't know what's in this pack. There could even be a Vivi in there. Oh my god, who knows? I'll just buy a bunch of Final Fantasy things. Like, you got to make it more affordable, is the main thing I'm trying to say. Like, good cards, like, hear me out. It's a toolkit, comes with 5 or 4, we'll say 4 60-card decks, and it's just like monocolored cards, but it's good. Pick a format, we'll say standard. Okay, so it's going to be a mono green standard deck. All right, so you got Elves, it's got Bushwhack, Axebane Feryx, it's got just like a bunch of just solid cards, so that way new players could actually get into this stuff. Because that's a big issue, as I see every day. Hey, I learned how to play Commander a year ago, and I want to get into these formats. Where do I start? And they don't have a good starting point. And maybe with Universes Beyond, help me help you, is if they're going to make this like, okay, here's the Spider-Man new player kit. And guess what? It's got stuff for everything, regardless of how you want to play. And they could even make a Spider-Man new player kit. What if it came with a 60-card deck and a commander deck? You learn both ways. Yeah. And then whatever you decide that you like to play, or however you like to play, you can kind of decide, or you can play both. Guess what? I got the 60-card deck and I've got a commander deck, and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. You know what I would not tell a new player to do is buy a bunch of booster packs of Final Fantasy.
God, yeah.
But singles are singles. But the box could be anything. It could even be the singles that I want.
Singles? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't know. I'm struggling with the whole Universes Beyond thing. Like, struggling as in, like, I'm not losing sleep at night, but just like, it's frustrating because, like you had mentioned before, Hunter, is it definitely feels like Magic is not being made with players like me in mind, or at least even somewhat as a priority. It really is not. And Magic, it's one of those things like, oh, you don't have to play it. You're correct. I don't have to play it. But I still want to play it. I'm just going to still play it how I prefer to play it, regardless of if it's not being supported, which it's frustrating when it's not, when it's not being supported. Like, it is, like, I want to go to FNM and I want to play 60 card formats and like win some cool promos every so often, and maybe, go, 3-3 at an RCQ every so often. That's what I want to do. And I want to be able to do that and feel like Wizards of the Coast says, you know what, Eli, we like players like you, but they don't.
Yeah, like
they don't like
don't.
players like me.
like remember store championships or like Saturday night showdowns and shit like that when Wizards was like actively supporting the local game store to have some type of competitive scene and encourage players to come there and to gather to play Magic, you know? Half of the fucking name of the damn game, Magic the Gathering.
Remember when you could go to a standard tournament and you could win a booster pack that had like a 30% chance of having an expedition in it?
Yeah, that was great.
Talk about an
Remember when you
incentive
could
to
go
come
to an
play.
Or
Remember
you
when
would just
could
get a
go to an
promo.
F&M?
Yeah, or you get a $25 promo that's relevant in the format you're playing.
Yeah.
Remember when you would go to F&M and there would be more than 6 people showing up on a weekly basis? You would at least have 5 to 6 rounds every Friday.
Yeah, I must say that with the promo thing, a lot of the time those Commander promos aren't that great either. Like, half the time it's like, hey, if you come in, you can get your 12th different Arcane Signet.
Cool.
Like, yeah, I must say the Commander promos really aren't that great either. And that's another thing that's frustrating. It seems like every promo they make now is just with Commander in mind. Like,
Yeah.
It feels like Wizards of the Coast continuously misses the mark on these promo cards. Like I talked about in the last episode, like, man, when Fatal Push was the F&M promo, everyone came to F&M. Like, I know you guys were very consistent F&M players, as I was, and, like, you know, you always had your different groups, people showed up on different days and stuff like that, but when the promo was good, everyone was there. Everyone. Like, what was it, the last store championship that we all went to at our local store before they stopped doing events, everybody was there. Everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to try to win this $100 Dark Confidant. Why wouldn't I be here? Like, everyone was there. And it's like, do that. You have the blueprint. Just do that.
Yeah.
And
you even have the Dark Confidant now. And just do it.
And like, yeah, exactly. And like we talked about too, is like, okay, F&M's really not for the casuals anymore. It's not who you're appealing to, so make it for the grinders then. Make it for the players like us that want to have that competitive experience, but maybe don't want to step into an RCQ or spend the amount of money to buy into an RCQ or go to a Grand Prix or a Magic Con or whatever. Like, make that the experience.
Well, it's annoying because, like, if you want the competitive experience, like, you can't have it unless Wizards supports it. Like, if there's not a robust pro tour and incentives for people to grind, like, there just is no competitive scene. But if you want to play Commander, like, people were playing Commander before Wizards even acknowledged it existed. Like, you can just play Commander if you want to. There's nothing stopping you. It's like Cube. Like, Wizards doesn't have to acknowledge this format. You could just play the game how you want to play it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we all have very similar opinions with Universes Beyond, which, I mean, makes it easier in a way to also get all of our points across. Largely, the people that we play with, I would say no one's the biggest fan of Universes Beyond, and I feel like that's most people's opinion. I'm not a fan of this, but, like, I guess. Like, that's how most people's opinions are. I'll be honest, I really have yet to meet someone that's like, woo, yeah, like, I love Universes Beyond. Like, other than the people that maybe got into the game because of that, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
the people we talk to actually play the game competitively. Like, the people who like Universes Beyond aren't Magic players.
Right, they're at the local 03 bracket at your pre-release.
Yeah, but they're like, I think these cards are cool, and I'm going to buy a couple booster boxes of it, but, like, I don't go to F&M, I don't go to Grand Prix, I don't drive 2 hours to an event, like, I've probably never drafted.
I don't drive 3 hours downstate in a car full of 5 sweaty-ass nerds.
Yeah, who would do that?
Yeah.
No, and that's one thing, like, okay, so with MagicCon specifically, like, I can say that, like, both times I've went to MagicCon, I didn't play a crazy amount of Magic. I can understand that. But I was at least playing for at least a little bit of stakes when I went to MagicCon both times. I could never imagine, like, again, MagicCons are more than just playing Magic. There's a lot of extra stuff to do, and the artists signed and stuff like that. But I could never imagine and just going to MagicCon personally and just grinding Commander all day. Like,
yeah, no.
like if you just want to jam Commander all day, like your local game store's probably doing it on Saturday or Sunday anyways.
Yeah,
Like,
I
how
can do that at
gross is
home.
yeah, like how gross is it to say like, oh yeah, I paid $400 to get VIP everything for MagicCon, and on my first day, I played 6 hours worth of Magic. Oh man, that's really really cool. How did you do? I was 1-1. What do you mean 1-1? I played Commander all day. Like, dude, that's disgusting.
Like
Played 6 hours of Commander. How many games was that? 2.
I got two, but I got two done. They were both draws.
That's fucking awful, dude.
Like I can. Here's the thing, and this is not bashing people that go to MagicCon to play Commander. Like if you go to MagicCon and you're like, all right, I'm gonna get some signatures. I'm gonna meet Gavin Verhey. I'm gonna do this and also maybe play some Commander. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like I'm going there just to play Commander. That's just like, wow. I mean, if you just
Like-
want to, if you got extra money to give, clearly you do. I'll take some. I mean.
I went to Chicago just to play Sealed, but that's totally different because there was an invite to the Pro Tour on the line.
Wait, there was a
I
sealed
can't
event?
do that here. Yeah, no, it was in the basement, dude.
It was in the basement. You had to be there,
if
dude.
you
Basement,
didn't go to the basement, you wouldn't know about it.
basement boys for life.
Basement boys, goddamn.
That's what we change the podcast to, the Basement Boys podcast.
Man, dude,
Basement boys, dog.
I already get way too much. You live in your mom's basement jokes for us to be called the Basement Boys.
I mean, hey, maybe that's what they're trying to say, though. It's like, yeah, that's right. I play in the basement at MagicCons.
Yeah.
I'm like a whole nother level of intense that you
I
could
didn't
not
realize it was a
handle.
badge of honor.
Jeez.
Oh man.
All right. I guess, does anyone else have any other comments regarding MagicCon, or at least not MagicCon, Universes Beyond before we move on to the Q&A?
No,
Oh,
let's-
actually, I do. It sucks and I hate it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's get to the mail.
Okay, so we are on to the Q&A, which is the last thing that we really have to talk about. So I got these from, let's see, we got, looks like we got a few actually on here. All right, so the first one is from Ralphie, once again, longtime channel member on the channel. So thank you, Ralphie. So Ralphie actually has 2 questions for us, and I'm reading these as he sent them, so if they, they should make sense, but maybe I might have to explain them. But all right, so with Standard on 3-year rotations, do you believe we will ever see another powered down Standard environment? If you do,
No.
how long do you think it'll take to get there? That's the first question.
Okay, I think we have to unpack the question a bit because I'm not sure. Does he mean like another standard format that's on a shorter rotation, or does he just mean like standard but it's not very powerful?
He just means
I
like,
think what
is
he means-
Standard going to be eternally super strong with the current rotation Standard?
Yeah, like how long would it take for Standard to turn into like the old Kanzatar here meta where you could live and play a game until turn 7 to 8? Like how many years and sets would it take for Standard to actually get to that now that Standard is at 3-year rotation?
Oh, yeah. Okay. If that's how I take the question, I think I get it. A long time. Probably never.
So the other part of this question that I'm reading here is, so he says, I still believe we will get a new format when Foundations rotates out of Standard.
Okay.
That's going to be from either Throne of Eldraine to include Triumphs or Dominaria United to exclude Triumphs to present. And there will be another modern Pioneer format where all the best Standard cards roam free. What are your opinions on this theoretical format? And do you see yourselves playing this theoretical fetchless, shockless, eternal format? So I guess like kind of what you were thinking, the first thing is
Yeah.
like
Like
do you think we
Neo
could see
Pioneer.
another era of cards?
Yeah. So I guess to address the first question, no. Power creep is generally one direction, and that doesn't always mean the format is faster, but it kind of has meant the formats are faster. And especially Standard. Like, Standard has been affected the most by it over the last few years because Standard was like the last bastion of really grindy, like not that powerful cards. And I don't think we're going back. I don't know if you guys feel any differently on the first question.
I don't like it would take so much to get Standard to turn back into what Standard was 5 years ago, because like, it seems like every format is just turning into the format above it, if that makes sense. Like, Standard is now Pioneer. Pioneer is now like closing in on the Modern. Modern is basically just Legacy. And
Yeah,
it's like
totally agree.
it would take so long and so much fidangling and so much care and love that Wizards has, as we've already talked about, not giving to the damn fucking state of the game. But like, it would just take feasibly so long that it's almost a non-existent thing to think of as Standard 10 years from now being a format like it used to be 10 years ago. It's just not feasible to think of, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and honestly, I agree with everything you guys said. There's nothing else that I need to cover in that. But I know at least with like, my only thing I'll add is at least with adding new era formats and stuff like that, like theoretically, as long as Magic's a game, they'll realistically keep adding era formats, right? I mean, right? Like, Magic, like, obviously was just Standard, and then it was like your extended, and then it was Standard and Modern. Now it's Standard, Pioneer, Modern. Obviously, we'll include Legacy in that. Like, yeah, theoretically, as long as the game keeps going, we will get more eras.
Yes, at some point, yes. I don't know if it's soon, but yes.
I can't imagine it'd be for another, like, 10 years, I would say. But, yeah, I'd have to assume, like, they'll keep making new formats, new eras of playing Magic, which is crazy to think about. My goodness. So, okay, does anyone else have anything to add on top of that, or?
Would I play it? Not if it came out, like, tomorrow.
Oh, God.
So if they came with, like, Neo Pioneer tomorrow, and it was, like, I don't know, Dominaria onward, probably not. Like, Pioneer's too new of a format, and, like, it just is going to feel too much like Pioneer or Standard or both. There's just not enough time between them. But eventually, yeah, I would. I mean, if it's 5-10 years down the road, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree to that.
So, okay. So, the next one I have is from Sarah Walnoki, another longtime channel member here, also has 2 questions. So, the first one is, what are your opinions on Final Fantasy and the Spider-Man sets? So, we pretty much gave our opinions on that, but if everyone can make a very quick, just what's your opinion on it? Like, obviously, we've seen the Final Fantasy set. We have not seen what Spider-Man's really going to look like. Just kind of give a quick general thing.
It's good in a capitalistic mindset for the company to stay afloat with money. It is bad for the state of the game for players who actually care about playing the game the way it is supposed to be played.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And I don't like Spider-Man more, probably because at least in Final Fantasy, all the cards have like a different feel to them. But I don't know how many different Spider-Mans there are going to be.
Too many.
I don't want like 8 different Spider-Mans. Like, that's just incredibly confusing and silly.
Yeah. So my thing is with this, not something I'm going to partake in, other than the occasional single I might want to play in Standard or Pioneer. I guess I am happy for the people that do enjoy those. And I don't mean that in like an ironic way or like I'm lying. Like, if I'm glad that people enjoy them, those sets, or looking forward to them, because obviously people do. Those sets are going to make a lot of money. And I also hope that there's not any super playable cards in Spider-Man to make things confusing for Magic Arena because of the reskin they're going to have to do. And I hope that that incentivizes Wizards of the Coast to do more IP sets. I guess their own IP. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe we just won't see Marvel. But yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion on it, I guess. I don't really care. I guess that's another way. I personally don't care. So I'm moving on to Edge of Eternities. I'm looking forward to that.
even the like Universes Beyond stuff that is like up my alley. Like I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy. I played a ton of Fallout. I just don't really care. Like I like those things, but keep them out of my Magic.
If I wanted Fallout, I'd play Fallout.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I have it on. It's right there. Like I'm looking at it. I could just walk over there and play it if I want to.
So, I don't know. But, okay, he also has another question. Do you guys play lesser-known formats like pre-modern, for example? It's starting to get more and more attention in Europe. So, I'll start with this one. I have played some of those lesser-known formats. So, a few years ago, I was playing, they call it Old School, which is basically, like, the original, like, Alpha to, I want to say it was Alliances, maybe Ice Age. No, it's Fallen Empires. I think was the newest set, and yes, I've played that format. It's actually I had a fun time playing it. I mean, it was kind of refreshing, like getting beat up by a Sarah Angel. I guess it was kind of fun. That's really the only like oddball format I guess that I've really played. I guess we did play like pure modern for a minute there, which was kind of fun. But yeah, I don't really play a lot of those, unofficial formats, especially since obviously being a content creator for Pioneer, I try to focus a lot of my time in Pioneer and Standard. That's where I put a lot of time into. I guess I did play Oathbreaker before it was like crazy popular. And I'll admit, Oathbreaker is actually decently fun. Because a lot of what I don't like about Commander is not relevant in Oathbreaker, so that's a big reason why I don't mind it. But I guess it's an official format now, so it doesn't really count. But yeah, I guess, are there any formats that you guys play that are unofficial?
Not currently. So when Pioneer or Frontier or whatever the newest, when those kinds of things were coming out, I played a little bit of those. When Commander just became a thing, like back when it was called Elder Dragon Highlander, played a little bit of that. Played a little bit of Tiny Leaders back in the day. Some of you might remember that. That's Commander, but all your cards have to be 3 CMC or less, and you have a Commander, but it's a 50 card deck, and it's 3 CMC or less. But no, not really. I don't really play a lot of them anymore.
Yeah, I don't really play any of those like different formats other than the times that like all of us have gotten together to play like pre-modern or Pioneer Plus or whatever.
We
the hell
did
random
do that
shenanigans.
$50 legacy one time. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
But like none of those, like almost kind of like what you were saying, Eli, about not going to focus on those formats because that's not really what the scene is. Kind of the same reason why I don't necessarily care about playing those formats, because like if I go to a competitive RCQ style anything, they're not going to be playing that format. They're going to be playing Modern or Pioneer or Legacy or something along those lines. They're not going to be playing some random thrown together format that's not supported by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, and
Now,
honestly, one format I could see myself playing that's not official but is kind of becoming official. A lot of the SEG events are starting to do the value vintage. They're starting to do 1Ks for that.
Huh,
which
cool.
Which sounds pretty cool. Like I mean, obviously we did the $50 legacy and that was a blast. And like value vintage is actually like it's like a cool format. Like because there's not a lot of cards you can really play in that format that are like crazy high powered. Like obviously you have like your reanimator decks and you have like some wacky things, but like the format's crazy when the best dual lands in the format are the reveal lands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that is a wacky format, and that's like the only one like current day I could see myself playing. But like again, like we're like those like semi-competitive guys. We're like I'm semi-competitive as like we go to competitive events, just not like every weekend. So like naturally we're gonna play the main formats because that's just how we like to enjoy the game.
The
Yep.
one thing I would add is if we're talking about limited formats, non-standard limited formats, I would say Cube Draft, 100%. Cube Draft is
Yes.
probably my favorite format. And then Chaos Draft, which is unsanctioned but is a lot of fun. And that's just you get 3 random packs. And then everyone at the table drafts those 3 random packs.
Oh, good old
Yeah,
chaos
those
draft.
those formats are both absolutely amazing, but those are like slightly more supported than these other like super duper niche formats, right? You know.
Yeah, and I took him as anything about constructed, not limited.
Yeah.
I used to help at a local game store in like 2019, like 2018, 2019. And I used to help. I basically ran the shop on Wednesday nights there because basically I wanted a time to play Modern and Pioneer. And so I was like, all right, well, what if I run the shop on Wednesday so we're open? Okay, sure. So we used to draft every other week. And every time I'd always ask, like, okay, guys, all right, we're getting ready to draft. Like, so are we just doing, like, we doing a regular set or are we doing a chaos? And every time it was chaos, which nothing wrong with that. But every time they were like, we're doing a chaos draft. And I was like, I don't even know why I asked. Just, you know, like, it was always wacky stuff. Like, it was like Ixalan, Core 19, and a Guilds of Ravnica pack. And, like,
Woo!
Like, we had a dude one time open, like, a Gate Crash fat pack just to, like, chaos draft it. And, like, it was crazy. Like, it was fun. The chaos drafts, I can get behind that.
Yeah, Chaos Draft was fun. I remember a time where Ryan and I both went to a Grand Prix weekend down in a very big city where we live, and we both joined the same Chaos Draft and drafted, you know, like whatever we were passed and with whatever. We both ended up being 2-0 and meeting each other in the finals. And I looked across from him and I was like, "Hey man, you want to draw?" And he's like, "What? No, we're playing this out." And I remember like fanning my deck in front of him, and he was just like, "Yeah, cool, let's draw." Because he drafted like this like super mid-range deck, and I drafted like almost all 1 to 2 drops. Like I had, you know, like Savannah Lions, infantry, like the 1-mana 1/1 that taps.
Spear, Felix, Path, like. He's playing like a full modern deck over there. I've got like, you know, I have a draft deck. He's got like Boros Burn in modern. I'm like, yeah, we'll draw.
It was quite funny. Like, and that's, you know, like that's the love of Chaos Draft, is like those funny moments like that, or, you know, like being able to draft some like absolute nonsensical stuff and shit like that. Same with Cube. So those formats, I agree.
I got paired against a buddy of mine at a Chaos Draft. I slammed a Siege Rhino on turn 4, and I'm holding Restoration Angel in my hand. This is a real Chaos Draft. I play the Siege Rhino, and he plays Stymied Hopes on it, which is 1 and a blue, counter unless you pay 1 and like scry 1. And I'm like, come on, dude, really?
That is hilarious, to be honest.
It was brutal.
Got it.
Yeah. Stymied Hope. And then like every time he saw Stymied Hopes after that, he was like, eh? Like,
oh,
but,
it's so good.
But yeah, the unofficial formats, like, it's not something that we largely partake in. But, you know, time to time. So the last question comes from Landon, which we all know who Landon is. Obviously, he's in our main group. Boo.
Nerd.
So his question is: Are top-down sets helping or hurting the game of Magic?
Ooh, okay.
So Ryan, I guess, do you have some opinions on this one?
I probably do, but let me think about it. So for those of you who don't know, a top-down is a design term. And what is meant by that is you start with an idea and you... Am I getting this right, Eli? Correct me if I'm wrong. Top-down, you start with a general idea of like what you want the thing to be, and then the design flows from the idea.
Yes.
Whereas bottom-up is more like, we need to fill a niche in the set. Like, we need a 2-mana 2/2 in the set. Like, let's build a 2-mana 2/2 and make it mechanically work. Whereas, like, top-down designs would be like Form of the Dragon. Where, like, the thought is, what is it like if I become a dragon? It's like, well, your health would reset to 5 every turn. You couldn't be attacked by ground creatures because you're up in the air. You would breathe fire at it. You know, like, it's what would it look like if? And so, from a set design perspective, I would say that some of them are really good and some of them are really bad. And it just kind of depends. So, like, one of my favorite sets of all time was Innistrad, original Innistrad. And that's a top-down set. The set was, what would it look like if we went to a gothic horror plane? And Innistrad just did that fantastically. It introduced, like, all these cool vampire cards. It was the first set that had the transforming werewolves. Cards like Delver of Secrets, Burning Vengeance, like just a bunch of like really cool designs. So I think top down can work really well, and I think throughout Magic's history, a lot of their set design works that way. They start with a big idea and then they try and like flesh it out top down. But I would say like they're more recently they have not been as good. Like Aether Drift. Aether Drift is a top-down set design. What would happen if we went to a big race on Kaladesh, right? And I'm not saying Aether Drift is bad, but it wasn't exciting in any way. Like, I enjoyed the limited format, but it was not a great set in terms of design, in terms of hype, in terms of interesting mechanics. I think that top-down design is the only way to really do design to make the game interesting and fun, but there are better and worse examples of it.
Yeah, like, kind of look at Tarkir Dragonstorm. Like, what would Tarkir look like X amount of time into the future? And it was very well loved, well received. It felt like a Magic set, the whole 9 yards. But it also, on that note, wasn't the most impactful set to Standard and Pioneer, the sets that it should have had the most impact on. So, like, yes and no. Like, sometimes those types of sets can be very, very miserable to play and deal with, but then other times it, like, doesn't really make or break a set if it doesn't have that kind of an impact on a format.
Yeah, I must say, one thing with the Tarkir Dragonstorm, maybe I'm crazy for thinking this, in terms of whatever I'm trying to say here, is I feel like the return sets that they've been doing the last few years have really not been great. I mean, I guess Tarkir Dragonstorm was pretty good, but it felt like a lot of the sets where we've returned to old planes have not been that great. Like, we went back to Eldraine, and that was like, it was okay. Like, it felt like they were too scared to do anything good. And then, like,
Aether Drift was whatever.
Yeah, like, we went back to Avishkar, and it was like, meh, yeah. And then, like, Murders of Karla Manor, we went back to Ravnica.
Nah, dude, what a forgettable Ravnica set.
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
And do you remember, like, we've been to Ravnica, 4 times?
Yep.
At least. And first 3 were some of the best sets ever.
Yeah, it's like...
Original Ravnica, Return to Ravnica, and Guilds of Ravnica, I think.
Right, and it's fantastic. You have the blueprint right there on how to make it good, and you still messed it up. Yeah.
And you just, they went top down. It's like, well, let's do a murder mystery on Ravnica. Like, it's a top down design, right? We're going to have a bunch of detective theme cards, and there's going to be a mystery to solve, and there's going to be clues. It kind of sucked. I didn't like it.
Here's my main thing I was going to say with the top down design. I don't think it's ruining Magic. I think the problem is they just cranked the notch up like way too high. Like, okay, so we want to do, like, here's a good example of one they did pretty good on. Okay, we want to do a caves theme set. We want to do underground. They start testing this set, and they're like, you want to know what? This makes sense to do on Ixalan, because we need to have an established world that, like, why are we underground on this plane we've never been to? So we might as well be on one that we know, and it makes sense on Ixalan. So they already had the blueprint for Ixalan for the entire set, and you want to know what? It was a pretty good set. People liked it. It was a fun set to draft, fun set to, play the cards in, whatever. They did a pretty good job on that one. But then they're like, okay, so we want to do a death theme or death race theme or whatever. So we're going to do every, like, we're going to make all these vehicles have all these crazy effects and like, okay, so vehicles, like we're going to have it super duper on theme, 100% flavorful. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like the decks I make here on the channel. Sure, it's really flavorful, but it didn't really work that well.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they take the weird, like, jokes and gimmicks, like, way too far. And I feel like that's kind of what hurts a lot of their more recent top-down design sets. It's okay to have a theme, just make it still, like, look like a Magic set.
If the top-down design is in service of the story, then it's great.
Yes.
Right? Like, Innistrad had a story. It was all about, like, them opening up the Hell Vault and freeing Avacyn, but also unleashing Grizzlebrand, and, like, the cards were designed towards that. But, like, it didn't... The top-down design of Gothic Horror didn't get in the way of the storytelling. Aetherdrift, for example, like you said, it's just, like, every card is just some wacky vehicle that's, like, doing the racy thing. And like I couldn't even tell you what the story was on Aetherdrift. Like, what was the point of the race?
Did you know that there were teams on Aetherdrift?
I don't know. Nope, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
and that's
I oddly enough will say that I did know about the teams because the only reason I know is because I watched the stream about it.
Oh, sure.
From
Okay.
Wizards of the Coast on Twitch.
Right, but like
that's the only reason I knew. Like, but if I wouldn't have watched that, I would have had like no inkling or idea like whatever the hell was going on with this set, and the cards didn't really, do a damn thing to show for it.
Yeah, it's like okay, there's a bunch of vehicles, but like what was the plot? Like okay, there were teams and they were all racing. Fine. What was the story that's going to continue on into sets going forward? I don't know. What was the story in Duskmourn that's going to continue on into sets going forward?
Like,
I don't know.
Unless you, like, it felt like in the past, like, if you, like, you could not read any articles and you could still generally have an idea of what's going on. Like, okay, the Gatewatch crew, they're on Zendikar, exactly they're fighting the Eldrazi, whatever. But, like, unless you, like, actively read all the story articles and all this and that, you have no idea what is going on in any of these sets. And it never used to be like that. And I mean, maybe that's more of a fault by, like, the story, like, part of Magic, the people that do that. Maybe that's more of a them thing. Or, to be honest with you, I think part of their issue is them not doing blocks anymore, and they just try to jam-pack every little thing into one set. I think that could be part of it, too.
I think it's a huge part of it, yeah.
So it's like one set is not enough time to tell a story. And when when Magic's greatest strengths, or one of them, is its story, it makes it almost impossible to do that correctly.
Yeah, even when they were doing 2-set blocks, like Battle for Zendikar is a great example, right? Like, you would read the cards, the first set was all about like these Hedrons and the Eldrazi, and like they've come back, and then the second set was all about the Gatewatch, and you had all these Oath cards, and you could clearly tell it was the Gatewatch teaming up to try and beat the Eldrazi on Zendikar. Like, you didn't need to read an article, you didn't need to go watch a show, you didn't need an explainer card. It was right there on the cards.
Well, and that's also a good example, too, is with Oath of the Gatewatch, it was still flavorful, but, like, so, for instance, it was teaming up. A lot of them, it was the Surge mechanic was a big one. It made sense flavorfully and mechanically, and it was, like, easy to understand. And a lot of those mechanics that they make nowadays are not like that. Like, if they were making, like, a team-up theme set or whatever, like, in current day, it would be like all this wacky stuff of like any player can activate this ability, or like or players can like use your mana pool, or all this other crazy stuff. Like, it would never be that simple if they did a set like that in current day.
And on that note, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So on the whole storytelling thing, like, speaking of the Battle for Zendikar, like, era, players who were returning, like, oh, we're going back to Zendikar, and then they see, like, all the big Eldrazi cards, and they're like, well, how did the Eldrazi, like, get out? They were imprisoned. You just go back, like, 2.5 sets, and you look at the cards in those sets, and you realize what happens. We were at cons. Sarkhan reset the timeline to save Ugin. Eldrazi ended up getting free because of it, like on the Battle for Zendikar thing. And then, like Magic Origins, all the Planeswalkers found their spark again, and then they went to go fight the Eldrazi. Like, so the storytelling was even feasible between sets. They were easy to tie together with, like, the sets like Assassin's Creed and all this other kind of stuff coming out, Final Fantasy. Like, 6 years from now, or 2 years from now, I'm not going to be able to go back and look at the history of the sets to read the story, because we're going to have things like Final Fantasy and Foundations and stuff like mixed in, and you're not going to know like what is what at that point for the storyline.
Well,
there's going to be just
more than that. Like, they don't really care about the storyline anymore. I mean,
no,
I don't think there's an overarching theme that carries from set to set every time they come out with a new set. Like, really? It used to be, the last set tied into the next set, tied into the next set, tied into the next set.
Really?
And now maybe once a year we get like a core, I don't mean core set, but like a Magic IP set that talks about the main characters and the story in a meaningful way.
Like, the last time we had that was War of the Spark, which, by the way, War of the Spark was an extremely successful set. Like, that was probably like the peak of Magic, at least in recent-ish years, was War of the Spark. Okay. With like the story and like people playing the game and stuff like that. And it really, since War of the Spark, they really have had no idea what they're doing in terms of like a story. Like, it was just kind of a bunch of random things happened, and like that's how we started getting all these like one-of stories, like, oh, we're going to Eldraine, and oh yeah, Garrick, that's where he was at. And then like, oh, then we're going to this random set. This is what's going on here. Like, we had a little bit of that with the Phyrexians coming back. But here's the thing though, is I didn't read any of those articles, and I could still tell you on what was happening in those sets. Like, Jin Gitaxias went to Kamigawa to get like the reality chip for Shieldred and stuff like that. And then like, obviously the Phyrexian invasion happened and like all the portals open. But guess what? You could figure that out just by looking at the set. You didn't have to like do any crazy deep dives, and you knew what was going on.
But like, I was actually going to bring up that the whole Phyrexian invasion was fairly story well based and stuff, but the way they ended things was just awful for the storyline. And like, that used to not be a problem where the storyline was bad. The storyline used to be intriguing. Like, Johnny's now a Phyrexian, and there's no cure for pheresis and all this other kind of stuff. And then within, like, because I read that part of the story, and within 2 chapters, it was like, oh, we killed Shieldred, and we found a cure for pheresis, and now everything's back to normal and fine. Like, where was the consequence? Where was the consequences? Like, there were consequences for the actions that Sarkhan took. He unleashed the Eldrazi again. He reset all the Planeswalkers, and they had to go do all of that stuff all over again. Like, it was like the Disney magic, snap my fingers, and oh, by the way, we have a cure for everything, and it's fine now. Teehee. Like, that's so fucking lazy.
If I tell you guys, like, I'm having a hard time putting this into words, but there's 2 kinds of like styles of television. There's like the long overarching theme where every episode like just takes place where the end of the last one left off. And then there's more like episodic television where it's just like every episode is its own self-contained thing. Magic is going more towards that. And I don't care for it.
Yeah, it's like a soft reset every single set.
Yeah. It's like you have to end the storyline at the end of the episode, or in this case at the end of the set, so that it doesn't impact the next set at all, so we can just like start fresh and tell like pretty much the same story over again.
Yeah, and I don't like awful. That, because you can't become attached to characters if you just kind of see them every so often. Like, if people love Tyvar, they're like, oh dude, Tyvar was such a cool character in Kaldheim. And then they're just like, oh wait, he's in Duskmourn now? Like, okay, he's like leading the group. All right.
Why?
Cool. Like, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
We don't. Like, and it's just like, that's part of the problem, is like the story was so great and it's not anymore. But I don't know. Part of their excuse with the blocks was like, well, we don't want to do like half a year of one plane. Well, why not?
Well, we do.
I mean, that's what we want. Like, sure, there's that one guy that's like, oh, Tarkir's so lame. oh, I gotta deal with this for half a year. It's like,
I mean, I get that, but like, even if it's just two set blocks, like that's 6 months, and you're probably gonna have some like side nonsense in between anyway.
right? Well,
The
yeah.
way they
Give me two on, one off. Like, okay, you're gonna do. I mean, I guess they're
Yeah.
doing Universes Beyond every other set now, which isn't gonna work out. But then again, if you didn't make it standard legal, it wouldn't be a big deal. Anyways, but
Yep.
I don't know. It's just.
And the other big issue with it is like standard specifically is, the one guy that complained about Tarkir, he only had to wait 1.5 to 2 years for the format to rotate and be different.
Yeah, the format would be completely different in a year because half of it would rotate.
Yeah. And so like we don't have that anymore. Like, and we never will, because they're never going to go back to that kind of rotation, because they're catering to those players that aren't us anymore. Like, we beat that dead horse already. But yeah, so like it worked because they wanted the 2-year set. They wanted things to stay fresh, to keep people engaged, and to want to keep playing. People like us, because it was exciting to be like, oh, this in this format, or this in this set just rotated out of the format, and then this set just came out. Like, it's going to be a whole new thing now. Whereas like, oh, cool, Tarkir Dragonstorm just came out. All right, let's sleeve up mono red mice and go to my local tournament. Like, that's disgustingly boring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, current Magic Boomer problems, I guess specifically. But I guess we went off on the long tangent. I don't think top-down design is ruining it. I think it's not helping or hurting the game. I think the fact that they just take it to an extreme without focusing on Magic's core ideals and values that people like, I think is the problem.
Yeah, it's when it interferes with the storytelling, and I think that's more a problem with the way they're doing set design and the way they're letting all this other problems we've been talking about creep in. It's not really top-down design, because top-down design has always been like a feature, not a bug, of Magic the Gathering.
Yep, that's right. So, okay, well, that's the last question that we have here. So that'll just take us to the final thoughts. And I guess, I know we talked about so much here, and honestly, we did pretty good with the 2-hour time frame. It's about what we were looking for, and we did pretty solid with that. And that's why I really only picked one topic to discuss today, which will probably be the norm moving forward, because we could literally talk for hours. We could talk all day about Magic stuff, just because we've been playing for so long, and we've experienced, like, obviously, Ryan, you've experienced it more than we have, but Hunter and I have at least played long enough to know, like, what it was before Wizards of the Coast has changed things within the last, like, 10 years. So I guess, do you guys have any closing thoughts at all, or?
I guess to say, I don't want anybody who listens to this podcast to take mine and probably the opinions of the other guys in a way of like, we hate the game and we don't love Magic. I love Magic. I have played it for the better part of a decade now, if not longer at this point. I have met some amazing people that I still talk to even 10 to 12 years later on like a weekly, sometimes day-to-day basis. And it has been an absolute wonderful game and hobby to play. My gripes with the game come from a place where I want to see the game have long-term success for the ways that I enjoy it, because I know that there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that enjoy it the same way as me.
Yeah. I guess, Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I know we bash a lot on Commander players and casual players and people who like Universes Beyond and standard players, and the point is,
Modern players.
yeah. Point being, our goal at the end of the day isn't to say Magic should be a particular way, in the sense like you should only play this format, you should only play these cards. The thing that we want to get across is we just want the game to be accessible and enjoyable to play for as many people as possible. and Wizards has taken the game in a direction that I think has made F&M, which was the way that like most people got into the game, just not as prevalent anymore. So if you ever take it as us just like bashing, it's not that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And I guess like my other closing thoughts I have is like Hunter said, like I love Magic, and like I love Magic so much that I made a YouTube channel to talk about Magic and things of that nature, and I've done a lot of things in my life because I love Magic, and I have Magic related things all over my room because I love Magic, and I talk about it passionately and how I like to play Magic because I care about Magic a lot. I really do. I love the game. And I'm not faulting for anyone if they enjoy it differently. If I'm not saying like I'm right because I enjoy it this way and you're wrong because you don't enjoy it how I do it. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just like Ryan said, we want Magic to be for everyone in terms of however you like to enjoy it. The set specifically, I'm not as worried about that in a certain way. Like if everyone can play Magic how they want to play it and like be able to play with others or whatever, like that's the perfect world, which unfortunately is not, especially with how Wizards of the Coast is going about this. But yeah, I don't want this, like when we started this podcast, we didn't start this to just be like a like just dogging on Wizards the entire time. They're doing everything wrong. It's nothing like that. And we've been playing Magic for a long time, and we've seen the extreme highs and we've seen the extreme lows though too. Like we've seen all of it. So like with a combination of how we like Magic and also what we've seen it be, that's how we come up with our opinions and decisions, just because we care about the game. We want it to keep going. And yeah, we just love Magic. That's all it is.
Yeah. I feel more like a concerned parent than a hater. Like, I don't love the game any less. I still love to play it. I am just really disappointed in the way the direction of things seem to be going from the standpoint that I see it at.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that. So, okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and cap off this episode. This was the 4th episode of the Alabastard podcast. If you have not checked out the other episodes, you've got to check them out. They're very, very good. If you liked this episode, you're going to want to check out the other ones because they're absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, that's all I've got for you. Thanks for watching this episode, especially all the way through. Even if you're listening to this right now, check out the other episodes or other Magic-related content here on the channel. I'm Commander Crane. I was joined with Hunter and Ryan on this episode, and we hope to catch you in the next one.